Hey, it is week 4 of our Mum's Creative Recovery. We're nearly at a whole month of doing this, which is insane. Time goes so quickly. I think it's so true, right? The days are long and the weeks are short. But yeah, we are at week 4. And this week, Julia Cameron calls the week recovering a sense of integrity. And it's interesting because I think for me, reading through this chapter made me feel actually it's really about tapping into that self even further, getting even deeper. And integrity is an interesting one because I think there's something in it where essentially what we're saying is like integrating the stuff we know. Like we know these things to be true, and the integrity is following through on those actions because they're better for us or they're more who we are or, whatever it is. And I think this week is possibly just diving even more into that sense of self and how we nurture that sense of self, what that self needs, how we can look after it better, how we can nourish it better. And so for me, that's going to be the focus. So she speaks this week a lot about getting honest with ourselves, about where we are, how we actually feel, and getting away from just saying, okay, and then actually stepping into what does that okay mean? Is that a frustrated okay? Is that a resigned okay? Is that a kind of numbed okay? And I think that really stepping into ourselves and paying attention to where we are is hugely valuable. And I don't know if we do it enough, right? Because our brains are split into a million different things that we have to do. And just taking a moment to pause and be like, where am I now? What do I actually feel? Am I okay? And when I say okay, like, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm relaxed or I feel on top of things? Or does it mean actually that, I'm not really, I'm coping, but just, or there is nothing here that is in any way flourishing or blooming in the way I want. It's just kind of survival. And I think it's okay that we have moments of survival, right? But understanding where we are, I think, is the core thing that I took away from this week, is really just getting in touch with where we are and trying to be honest with that and integrate the things that we know or we are learning we need and figure out how we make space for them in our lives, how we get them in as a priority, how we figure out how to do them when we don't have time. And I'm going to do another little video on the picking up, dropping, like picking up, putting down side of things that I think comes with creating or writing or nourishing ourselves when we are mothers, and also some thoughts on maybe how we can start to just make a little space for sacred time and what that might look like. But everybody's situation is different, right? So I think the real takeaway that I got from this week was actually just be in touch with where you are and understand that and start to move towards the little signals you're getting of the things that could be different or might need to change or you would really appreciate or value if it was different. So the tasks I'm doing this week, there's one exercise she suggests, which is called Buried Dreams. And it's 6 questions that you're supposed to answer super quickly because, as she said, the speed kills the censor, right? So we don't want to censor ourselves. We want to just answer these questions really quickly. So those 6 questions are: list 5 hobbies that sound fun, list 5 classes that sound fun, list 5 things you personally would never do that sound fun, list 5 skills that would be fun to have, list 5 things you used to enjoy doing, list 5 silly things you would like to try once. And I think there's just tapping into some of these things that we might have not really spent any time noticing, but are there when we start to dig for them and find out the things that might light us up that we've not made time for. Not because we then have to go make time for all of them straight away, but the idea that maybe we could think about how we could schedule one of those for an artist date if we get an artist date time, or we could just try and sneak that into playtime with our children, for example, or something that even if we just think about it or give ourselves 5 minutes on Pinterest looking at something or 5 minutes trying something out, that there's just a mini step towards things that light us up, things that spark our joy, and getting back in touch with that sense of self that I think is so muddied in this time. Then the other task she gives is reading deprivation. And this is a tough one because I've just got back into reading books and I'm delighted by it because it's so nice to go to bed and read. because I finally don't have a baby sleeping in my room anymore because my son's grown up a bit and he now sleeps in his own room. And oof, getting into bed and being able to read is like a great pleasure. So I don't know how I'm going to deal with her suggestion of not reading for a whole week. Um, and also, I think this calls to maybe the decade in which this book was written, because really she's talking about reading being this thing that clogs up our senses, that kind of takes away our attention. And I actually think a better deprivation to do might be a social media deprivation, might be like an online world deprivation. I mean, maybe I'll try not reading anything. I don't know. That sounds really scary. I'll let you know how it goes. But that is a potential task. If you try it, please let me know. But I actually think maybe just skipping out on social media, giving my emails that aren't essential a miss. Actually, do I have essential emails? Like questioning things like that. What do I really think is essential? Maybe I have one or two that I absolutely have to reply to in a semi-timely manner. But everything else, maybe that can just drop for now. Yeah. And her suggestion is see what you do with the time. See what happens with that time. And I guess it's something I've been thinking about, that if we are creating time, how can we spend it on ourselves? How can we create that time to give back to ourselves a little bit, to nourish ourselves a little bit, rather than thinking we can achieve more, because we've got a bit more time. So I don't know about you, but I want to explore that sense of how does that spare time, any extra time I make by putting down some habits that aren't serving me, like watching TV in the evening or scrolling on social media or just spending too long on a laptop or a screen. And how do I shift that slightly and spend some of that time creating or doing something nourishing for myself? Then the other task that I'm going to do, because I think this is a really lovely one, is to describe your ideal environment. Um, like, is it in a city, in a town, in a country? Is it like cozy? Is it posh or swanky? Is it, what does it look like? And she suggests one paragraph, one image drawn or clipped that conveys this. What is your favorite season? Why? Go through some magazines, find an image of this, or draw it, or place it near your work area. I mean, nowadays, technically, you could AI it if you really wanted, but maybe this could be a nice creative project, right? To just think about the type of environment that would nourish us the most. Because maybe if we can find ways to be a little bit more nourished in our surroundings, that kind of everyday thing, that could be such a win. So that is the big task that I am going to do. She also suggests that you look for a space in your house that you can make a bit more yours, and kind of like a space to nurture yourself and nurture your artist. That doesn't feel hugely possible in my house. We don't have that many rooms. And I don't know if I could pull a corner of the living room to be mine. I think about it, but even I'm wondering if it's just putting something nice on a shelf that when I see in the morning, or perhaps just buying myself flowers to have in the house so that brightens up, or putting up a favorite print might be the way that I go about that. But those are the tasks I am going to do this week. Obviously try and squeeze in an artist date. We'll see how they're going. I had an amazing library trip last week. I am creating a little vlog to kind of round up some of the week's experience for the last couple of weeks, and I will share that soon. But yeah, let's try for an artist date in whatever way we can, even if it's like, I actually technically took my son on this artist date, but he was quite chilled in his pram, so I got to wander around the library, and it felt like a little bit of a win. Anyway, artist date if you can, morning pages if you can, in some description. Just get how you're feeling out in some way if you can. And don't worry if you can't. Just find 5 minutes to be creative and enjoy that, and let that be enough. I think that's the plan. So I will see you on the other side. Let's do this.